Hello again, and welcome to Winning with the Wrangler at Dick Powell's Leadership Corner, brought to you by Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training and Development, where our passion is building leaders of today and tomorrow. Leaders, today we're going to discuss some things that, well, hopefully they just pique your interest enough that you're going to want to actually say, boy, I need to do something, and put some action into your plan. You see, today we're going to start off talking about leadership insecurity. Now, I know that this is a hard subject because we as leaders don't want to think of ourselves as insecure. But you know, there's times in our life that these things crop up. And knowing when and how to realize them can be a very good thing. So just listen for a moment, and as I go over these things, don't try to criticize yourself. Don't try to think about it's always someone else. Just listen and think, boy, is that something I need to work on, or could I help some other leader by having that conversation? You see, that's what this is all about. Leadership is about working with others. It's about helping others. It's about moving others ahead. And when we're insecure in our leadership ability, there are some symptoms that jump out very quickly. Now, one of those symptoms could be comparison. You see, we start comparing ourselves with others. We start comparing other people against other people. We start keeping score. Who's the best leader? Who did what, when, where, how? Oh my goodness, am I better or worse than? See, when that comparison starts, that's really when you start to lose control as the leader. And it's not so much control, but it's personal control. It's personal accountability. It's when you start questioning yourself that you're making comparisons with other people, keeping up with the Joneses, so to speak, next door neighbors. But in business, in corporations, I'm going to tell you what, even in churches, by golly, this happens in the leadership positions. This big thing of keeping score and who's better than who, and oh man, I guess on sales teams this might be an important piece, but I'm not so sure it's an important piece in a leadership piece. So if you're finding yourself always comparing yourself with someone else, what are you insecure about? Are you insecure that you haven't done your research, haven't gotten prepared before you've executed? That you haven't networked, celebrated, and then evaluated? You see, comparison, best thing I ever learned about comparison was in Cub Scouts. Do your best. And that meant do my best, not somebody else's best. But if I was always doing my very best, by golly, that was good. So let's look at the second one, because I believe this goes right with it. And it's compensation, feeling the victim, and the need to compensate for losses or failures. Now, you see, failure is a learning opportunity. I learned a long time ago that the more I failed, the more I learned. The more I learned, the more I grew, and the more I grew, the more I could share with others. Now, some of those failures weren't all that much fun, and I'll tell you what. But compensating for it as being, poor little old me, the plum disease, did no good for me or those around me. And as a leader, when you're feeling the victim, everybody's against you. No one understands me. I'm going to go in the garden and eat worms. and you start to compensate for all those losses and failures, you start making excuses, again, your leadership quotient starts to slip. Now, if you just heard yourself in there and you feel the victim, you feel like, gee, I just can't make a right decision. Find somebody, find a mentor, find a coach who can help you move through this and get back on track. If you've noticed this in one of the other leaders that is around you, might be time to just go for a cup of coffee and say, hey, look, I'm seeing some things that this is just not you. What's going on? Take the time to build that relationship. Take the time to listen to where they're at and discover how you can be of help and service. Now, if you're trying to do it on your own, I'm going to tell you that this is pretty tough. It's pretty tough to stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself you're a good person when things aren't going right. It's pretty tough to jump up out of the, poor little old me plum syndrome when you're trying to do it all on your own. And that's why I'm encouraging you to get a good coach. Have them help yourself jump over those obstacles. And when you do, you're going to feel better. You're going to be better. You're going to be a better leader. And those around you are also going to see that you were able to recognize that you had a situation and you went and found some help. Now, that's a big plus as a leader, just so you know. You see, oftentimes leaders tell me they feel so alone. They're all alone at the top. Leaders, if you're all alone, you're not leading. You're managing. And there's a huge difference. Let's talk about number 3 on these symptoms of insecurity for leadership. Competition. Self-consumed, trying to outdo the others for attention. Well, I have seen leaders who have spent their whole careers trying to get the attention of other people. Trying to outdo and outsmart and out whatever, instead of just doing their very best every day. I've seen it become so self-consuming, this thing of competition, that I've watched leaders lose their families. Husbands, wives, children. I've watched them move from company to company to company to try to make this other thing happen. And it's a shame that no one ever sat them down and said, hey, let's have a cup of coffee and find out what's going on between your ears, because this is not healthy. Now I'm going to tell you that you hear me talk a lot about a coach. I've had a life coach and a business coach for a long time. And I've had a couple of them. One I've had since, for almost 15 years now. And before that, I had some really great mentors. And I have to tell you, I don't think I could have ever done or lived my dreams without them, because I saw myself slipping into this competition one pretty hard and heavy when I first went into the leadership roles in a large corporation. And I was fortunate. I was very fortunate to have one of the older members say, hey, let's go get a cup of coffee, because we've got something we need to talk about. And of course, I wasn't real happy about it. But when he made me understand what was going on, you see, it had turned into compulsion, driven to perform, to gain approval. This competition had driven me to compulsion. I was so consumed with this competition that the compulsion drove away, or started to drive away, my wife and children. They didn't want to be around me. And you know what? The other leaders didn't want to be around me either, because they knew I was cutthroat. I was going to make it happen no matter what. and the compulsion nearly ruined me. Now, one of the things that I found that I struggled with was condemnation. You see, I judged others. I judged everybody because, you know, it was either bringing self-pity or conceit. I tore down people just verbally and non-verbally in any way I could, you know, and you can see how these things all put together. And I felt like I was losing control. The feeling that I must take charge to protect my interest, not the companies, not the organizations, not my families. It just, this insecurity piece of being a leader just was driving me on the other side. And when this gentleman, his name was Clyde, took me aside and said, let's have that cup of coffee. These are things, 6 things that he nailed down pretty darn quick. He said, I want to tell you something. You're losing. You're not winning. By comparison, by constantly comparing yourself with others and comparing others against others, you're just driving people away. And it's showing them that you're really not able or ready to be a leader. You're compensating all the time. You're always feeling like the victim, and other people hear you say that. And what happens is the people that work with you and you're supposedly leading, they hear it, they become victims also. And the competition and the compulsion that go together so strongly. And they hear you, you know, judge others, and the condemnation, it just runs so rampant in everything that you say that they see that you have no control over yourself. And you're so insecure in this leadership position, this leadership opportunity, in being a leader, you're losing control. I thank Clyde all the time that he took me aside and he wrote down these 6 things and handed them to me. I wasn't real happy about it, but you know what? It changed the way and my leadership style. All of a sudden, I found some remedies. And I started putting them into work. First of all, the first remedy was to identify. And I had to identify who I was, both inside and out. What I stood for, what my values were, what my morals were, what was my, you know, where did I stand on certain things? And boy, that was a chore. But you know what? I've lived that life now for many years. And once you know yourself, once you really know who and what you are and what you'll stand for, what you want, what your non-negotiables are, you'll be surprised how not only you change on the way you live your life, but as a leader, but you'll see those around you start to change because they're going to do some of that self-examination also and start to live their life in a little different manner. Big, big difference. One of the other remedies that I put into place was inclusiveness. Letting others in to know me at every level of my life. Letting other people inside. Instead of keeping everybody outside at arm's length like I had grown up and been taught in family life, I had to learn a new way. And this inclusiveness, you know, really took me on a different path. You see, as a person who is a leader of a large training organization, there's someone who I depended on all the time. Didn't know them very well in the beginning, but in the end, I found out that this person made sure that things went right every single day. And this person had been working in this building for 20 years. I'd never known them, but till I took the time But this person made sure that my office was just spick and span every day. He made sure the hallways were shiny. He made sure the bathrooms were clean. He did more to make sure that that training facility ran smoothly than any of the rest of us. But he was unseen most of the time. Except I used to like to get there early. We didn't start teaching classes until 9 o'clock, but I was there at 6:30 or 7 in the morning, and we would have coffee together. And we would talk about things that maybe needed painted or some things that needed to be taken care of or whatever. And we became great friends. And then inclusiveness took me to places because he knew people in the company that I did not know. And he introduced me to them. And it showed me that no matter where you were, you had a role to play. And as a leader, it didn't take a whole lot of smarts to understand that the more inclusiveness, the more people that you included into your life, the better off you were and the easier it was to lead. I found out that this thing of having a vision for myself, for my family, for my career was important. And when I took the time to really put it together, I found my insecurity start to go away. You see, because I wrote down on a piece of paper what my mission in life was, my calling, my purpose. And it was then I put the strategy to work, placing milestones on the calendar, speaking to everyone, building relationships, working the plan. And I found myself moving ahead miraculously that I hadn't planned. It would just seem to happen. And the biggest thing that I put in here as a remedy for my insecurities was to give and receive affirmations. I found that everyone liked to be told they were doing a good job. Everyone liked to be found doing something good. Everyone needed that. And you know what? I needed it too. And before I wasn't able to really receive them. I wasn't good at it. I would make, well, you don't have to say that. Oh, I'd make all sorts of excuses instead of saying thank you. I appreciate it. It's nice to, nice to understand. Thank you. It was simple as saying thank you. And I worked hard on it. So this whole thing of leadership insecurity, if you've heard some of these things that maybe you need to work on, this comparison or compensation or competition or compulsion or condemnation or control, I want you to think about it. I want you to think about it and know if those are things you need to work on for yourself, or maybe like Clyde, you would be the good person to say, let's go have a cup of coffee. And some of the remedies that have worked for me, some of the remedies that I'm encouraging you to think about is this thing of identity. Knowing who you are from the inside out. And I'm not going to tell you that's an easy step, because with ages and stages, sometimes those change a little bit, but they really don't. Once you make up your mind what you're going to live by, your set of values that you're going to live by, and you're able to tell people what they are, you'll be surprised how that changes your leadership. You'll be surprised how people around you respond to you. You see, because that makes you knowable, but it also makes you so they know what to expect. It's not going to be, you're not going to blow up one day and the next day be happy jolly. You see, that's a big one. Think about this inclusiveness, this letting others know who you are at every level in your life. Boy, I once talked to a gentleman who who said in order to be a success, you had to be like a chameleon, and no matter where you were, you kind of had to blend in. I'm going to tell you, do not do that. Inclusiveness means be yourself, by golly. Let other people know who you are and take the time to find out about them. You know, they're more than just that job that they're showing up to do. They've got a wife and kids, maybe they've got children to raise, and they've got grandchildren. You know, those are important things. Maybe they just like to go bass fishing every Saturday and Sunday that you never knew about. Could be you missed out on some really good fishing trips. You see, this inclusiveness goes from top to bottom, left to right, all around. Including people in your life will make you a better leader, because it will make you understand where others come from, what they stand for, and also how can you be better with them. Having a written vision, a future picture. Having a written mission, your purpose, calling. Having a written strategy, plan, a day-to-day opportunity written down that you're going to carry out so that you can live your mission, achieve your vision. You see, once you do that, I'm going to tell you that that's exciting. It's exciting because you're going to see yourself progress. Almost by magic, it seems that all of a sudden, somebody asked me the other day, said, Dick, how'd you get to be a successful speaker? I said, well, it only took me about 65 years to get this way. A lot of practice. And I have a friend who says practice makes what? Perfect, you say? No. She says practice makes permanent. And it's the truth. So this vision, mission, strategy, it's part of life. And if you put it in there, you'll feel so secure that you won't worry about it. And give and receive affirmations. It's just huge. Now I want to tell you a little story. A long time ago, I was in the union and working for a large corporation, and every 3 years, the contract would come around, and every year, they would say, oh, we're going to get laid off. Oh, we're not going to have a job. Oh, and it'd be all this poor little me. And they'd say, well, Dick, you don't seem to be very upset about it. I said, well, what will happen will happen. And if I lose my job before I get home, I'll have another one. And they said, well, you're pretty secure in yourself. I said, well, I've got a wife and 2 children. If I have to pump gas, I'll pump gas. If I have to dig ditches, I'll dig ditches. Whatever needs to happen. And they looked at me really funny. Later on in years, when I got into the leadership portion of that organization, some of those people would come by in my office and they would say, well, are you still really that secure that if you lose your job, they come in and fire you right now that you'll have another one before you get home? I'd say, well, I'm a little older now. Probably shouldn't be digging ditches or climbing poles anymore. But you know what? Before I get home, I'll bet you that there's some place that I'm going to get a job. Home Depot or Lowe's or Walmart greeter, whatever it would be, I will have something. And still to this day, when we have those conversations, I see these people long after they've retired, and they're sitting around, and they're sitting around. And I'm out speaking on stage and writing books and things, and they ask me all the time, hey, you still secure? You see, as a leader, one of the things that we need to always exemplify. As a leader, one of the things that we need to always make sure that others see us do, because people do what people see. And that's being secure in yourself, secure in the career or job you've chosen, being secure in your home and your family life. You see, once you know all those things. Once you have that vision, mission, and strategy, even if your strategy is to retire and rock on the front porch, which is a bad strategy for me, but I got to stay busy because I'm hyper all the time. But the thing is no matter what, if you have a vision, mission, and a strategy, a day-to-day plan that you're working, you're going to be secure in yourself and won't need this other piece. One of the things my grandfather taught me is happiness doesn't come from the person sitting next to you. Happiness doesn't come from the person sitting next to you. That was a big part for me to learn about security. So when we started talking about leadership insecurity today, the biggest, I just couldn't imagine not mentioning that. Because the thing of being happy goes along with being secure. And leaders who are secure in their home life, as well as their chosen career life, will be happy. Now, I won't tell you that there won't be times when things happen. Life happens to all of us. You get in a car wreck, the hot water tank, doesn't work, the roof needs repaired. This just stuff that happens. But stay away from the comparison. Stay away from the compensation. Stay away from competition. Stay away from the compulsion, condemnation, and control. Be secure in where you're at and what you're doing. Be secure in the fact that you have chosen to be secure. You have chosen to have that feeling. You have chosen to put these things into work by knowing your identity, by being inclusive of all those you are with and around you, by having a written vision, mission, and strategy, not just for your career, but for your home life also. And learning how to give and receive affirmations. Now, if you can do those things, I should say when you do those things, you'll be secure. You'll feel good about it, and those around you feel good about it. And here's the best part. Leaders, here's the best part, is that people around you will start living their lives the same way. And they'll feel secure because they're going to see this different style of doing things. But I encourage you, though, be the best friend. Be like Clyde, who came to me and said, Dick, you seem to be a pretty good guy, but boy, you have just lost control. I'm so thankful that Clyde took me out for a cup of coffee that day. I wasn't happy with the things he said to me, and I have to be honest with you, I was kind of angry, and it took me a while to calm down because I just knew I knew more than he did. But after I calmed down, and he talked to me a couple more times and worked with me, became my mentor, I have to tell you that I saw a change in not only myself, but I saw a change in how people responded to me. And I saw a change on how my children responded to me. And so I'm encouraging you as leaders, if you've heard some of these things that you need to work on, or if you've heard some of these things that you need to work on with someone else, do it. Be secure in who you are, and what you're doing. Now, until next time, on behalf of myself, Dick Powell, and the whole Leadership Corner team, of course, we want to say thank you for being a part of today's program. Our hope is that you've received a nugget of wisdom and guidance that will help you build your leadership ability. If you have any questions or comments on today's program, you can always give us an email. It's dick@leadershipwrangler.com, dick@leadershipwrangler.com. Set your very own appointment with myself or my wife at www.leadershipwrangler.com, www.leadershipwrangler.com. Give us a phone call at 727-422-1833. Or I'll tell you what, when your organization is ready for that next keynote on leadership, hey, that's the one to call, 727-422-1833. And I'll tell you what, until next time, this is D.W. the Wrangler saying, ride hard, ride fast.